I'm Charlie Garnett Benson. I'm assistant professor at Georgia State University in Atlanta, Georgia.
And I'm Dr. Susanna Greer. I'm an associate professor at Georgia State University. How do we meet? Oh, well, we met a number of years ago because Charlie gave a seminar at Georgia State, and our chair, seeing that I was female and Charlie was female, and there weren't a whole lot of us in the department, asked me to host Charlie's seminar. And that's how we met and became friends.
And because we have similar interests, we both do cancer immunology or immunotherapy-based research. So it was a nice fit.
Yes, very nice.
And then I got hired and got the job, and now we're coworkers, colleagues.
Something funny that's happened in our labs. My lab has a lot of fun. One thing we do is I get really, we have a joint lab meeting, but then every other week we have a lab meeting with just our labs. And one of the things I get really frustrated with is when students come and are ill-prepared for those presentations or have just made a ridiculous mistake in the week that ended an experiment or wasted reagents. And so one thing that we started this year, which I don't do in our joint meeting, but maybe we should, is we have a dance-off. And during lab meeting, we write the word dance party on the board, and our students present their data, and when they present something that is just asinine or have they made a ridiculous mistake that cost me money or wasted time, they have to write their name on the board under dance party, and at the end of lab meeting, whoever's name's on the board has to dance for 30 seconds in front of the group. That's what we do.
That's fun. I didn't know that. I'm going to try that.
It's a good incentive. I love it. I love it because it makes something that makes me insane fun. And sometimes, very rarely, but I dance when I've done something bad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And sometimes they dance for each other because they just feel sorry for themselves, but they are awful dancers, so it's really funny.
Well, her lab's entertaining anyway. She's quite a interesting cast of character students in her lab. And so I guess my funniest one would be from lab meeting 2. One is a student in my lab, a master's student, falling asleep in lab meeting while someone else is presenting and proceeding to snore and waking himself up with the snoring and then realizing that he's sleeping. And of course, Susanna looking over at me like that. And the other thing is for April Fool's Day, we did a journal club and we assigned the figures to the students. And for April Fool's Day, we switched the order of the figures and we were like, okay, you're going figure 1. And we called on 2 students who weren't assigned that figure. And Susanna's like, you're not ready, you're not prepared. And I'm looking at my paper saying, yeah, Jody, I have you down for figure 1. Yeah. See, right here. So they're totally flabbergasted.
And they were so mad at us. They were like, you're wrong. And we were like, we're not. We can't believe you're unprepared for this, as usual. It was awesome.
That was fun.
I've mentored lots of graduate students now. It feels like a lot. I've graduated 6 people from my lab now, and each of them has had a different career trajectory from me, and I think that will continue to be the case. Funding is difficult now, but I still think a PhD is a great tool to put in your toolbox. You just need to be open-minded about what you're going to do with it. So I try to train my students now to use graduate school as a way to develop a set of skills that will help them not only on the bench but also in life. The skills that you use in graduate school are really critical for communication, for interacting with other people and helping to inform them about your ideas. You learn great writing skills. You learn how to obviously do hypothesis-driven research. But I think just be open-minded about what you can use a PhD for beyond just pipetting. There's a lot of good scientists can do in the world, and especially I think if we think broadly about the skills you develop in grad school.
Yeah, and I would just say that it's not always really just about being smart. Everybody here is smart. I think a lot of it has to do with persistence, making sure that you have an inherent characteristic or quality of being persistent, and also being passionate and excited about it. If you don't have those 2 things, I think sure, you could accomplish things and maybe be successful, but I don't think you could be as successful as you would be if you had this internal drive and excitement just about what you do and the ability to persist and keep going. Because, you know, science is challenging, but if you have those two things, I think it just makes it fun and it, you know, you get re-energized every time you hear something new. But I think if you don't have that inherently, it's going to make it that much. The challenges will seem much more monumental than they are when you're thinking, no, this is really just cool and exciting and I love it and I'm going to keep going.
And you can't teach that.
You can't. So I try to get my students to think, is this really what, do you feel this inside? Do you feel passionate about this? Because there's going to be times where you have to keep going up into a wall and backtracking and stuff. So